There's a lot of confusion about Stark law out there, so I want to give you a quick overview so that you know how to handle and, more importantly, avoid any complications from violating the Stark law on the federal level, which will have lots of applications for state law as well. I'll explain why I mean both federal and state in just 1 second, but my name is Scott Radigan. I founded Functional Lawyer. You can find us at functionallawyer.com, and I get questions every day, just like this one, from providers out there that are going on their own, starting up their own practice, and just want to do things the right way. So if that's you or that's a friend of yours, please get in touch with us at Functional Lawyer or share this with somebody who needs to be in the know and things like this. So Stark law is a federal law, and by its nature can only apply to federal issues or interstate commerce. But under this, Stark law is against self-referral. So this is a law that prohibits physicians and providers in general from referring patients to a set of designated health services to get designated health services from an entity in which that provider or their immediate family member has an ownership interest or a financial interest. Now, there are some exceptions to that, but let's give you an example. So I am a physician, I accept Medicare and other federal programs, and I own a lab company down the street, or I own a radiology clinic or a portion of a radiology office down the street. And I keep sending all my Medicare patients to this radiology imaging center because I know Medicare will pay me more and I will get a financial compensation because of that. So that is the aim that we're seeking to prohibit under the Stark law. For a bit of background, it came into law initially in the 80s, got revised as Stark 2, 93 to 95 period, and then finally came into full enforcement in 2002-ish. So what are the exceptions to Stark law and Stark as self-referral? And the way I remember it, because even attorneys need tricks, is Stark starts with an S, self-referral also starts with an S, believe it or not. And that's how I kind of tie those two together. This is distinct from the Anti-Kickback Statute, which again is another federal law. And we'll cover a bit of that here too as well. Before I go on, these are federal laws and they only apply when federal payments are changing hands. So Medicare and Medicaid, which is a quasi-state and federal program, are both implicated here. But even if you're not under Medicare or Medicaid, you're not participating in those programs for one reason or another, each state has its own laws that are similar to this. So you'd be well advised to at least listen to the concepts and then maybe go find out if your states are similar or sometimes exactly the same as the federal law. So there's a couple of exceptions to self-referral laws. So physician employees or contractors are exempt from the self-referral law as long as their services are supervised by the referring physician or by another physician in the same group practice. But keep in mind, group practice is a defined term and it doesn't mean the common understanding of what a group practice is. There's specific qualifications you have to meet to be a group practice under Stark. The services are exempt also if they are rendered in a building where the referring or group physician furnishes non-designated health services or in a centralized site used exclusively by the group for providing designated health services. And so all three of these have to be true. And it's billed by the physician supervising the services or by the group practice in which that physician is a member, or by an entity that is wholly owned by that physician or group practice. And that last one is probably more for managed services organizations or MSOs. So those are some of the exceptions. There are many more, including rental of office space, rental of equipment, bona fide, like legit employment relationships that are not tied to the amount of referrals or money or compensation or appointments or anything like that, that the physician is not compensated directly for any of that. So then what are the designated health services that are prohibited for referral? There are 12, and I'll list them right now. Clinical lab services, physical therapy services, occupational therapy services or OT, outpatient speech language pathology, radiology and certain other imaging, radiation therapy, durable medical equipment and supplies, parental and enteral and enteral nutrients, equipment and supplies, prosthetics, orthotics, and prosthetic devices and supplies, home health services, outpatient prescription drugs, and inpatient and outpatient hospital services. The big list. If you don't own any of those things separate from your entity, then Stark probably won't be an issue for you. But if you do, and you do a number of things to fall under the exceptions, including transact at arm's length, and do things at fair market value, then you should be okay under the self-referral laws as well. I will link under this video or in this blog a full list and where you can go look at all the exceptions and see how you can comply with Stark as well. And then in a future video, we'll talk more about anti-kickback statute, how it kind of relates to Stark as well, but they are separate and they often are confused. So look for that one as well. And we'll see you in the next one.